everyone.
Hello.
I'm going to read, so please don't judge. I asked to speak first because as much as I can talk to anyone, I was not given the gift of public speaking. I'm going to speak briefly and let my brother take the lead. I want to thank everyone for celebrating our dad with us. Some of you may know my dad is the closest person in my life. There isn't a day that goes by that we don't talk. He is who I call on my way to work, he is who I call for advice, he is who I call to vent to, and much more. So if I'm being honest, I had some jealousy sharing him with the city of Cambridge. Our daily phone calls were sometimes brief because my dad was called in. His love and passion outside of his family is for the city. Even this summer when my parents took a well-deserved 3-week vacation in Saratoga, New York, when asked if he would do it again next summer, he said yes. But not 3 weeks in a row. Chris and I have never been away from the city of Cambridge as long in my life. Now, clearly I did not get my passion for traveling from my dad, but this comment kept replaying in my head. To view a city as your home, the place you miss, speaks to his love for Cambridge, and that was evident in his time as city manager. As I watched him excel, my jealousy ended, and I grew even more proud of my father. Today wouldn't be complete though if I didn't mention those who unfortunately no longer with us, but I know are just as proud. Our Nana and Poppy, Uncle Frank, Uncle Bill, Anna Mary Campbell, and my dad's closest cousins, Peter and Jackie. I know they all watch him with such pride, and we love him.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kristen. Beautiful job. So I want to take a moment first to thank you all for coming to the final stop on the Louis DePasquale retirement tour of 2022. This year, I was also fortunate enough to attend Elton John's Boston stop on his retirement tour of 2022. It was pretty good. But between the park dedication, the jazz festival, and tonight's festivities, Dad, I think you might have me beat. Really though, it has been a joy to attend all of the events honoring my father this year, and to hear folks from every corner of the city share stories and laughs and gratitude for the work my father has done for his 47 years with the city of Cambridge. And doing anything for that magnitude of time makes me think about sustainability and how someone sustains something for such a long period while staying engaged and excited with the work they're doing. In Daniel Pink's book, Drive, he outlines a framework where he highlights 3 key factors that contribute to a sense of intrinsic motivation around one's work. And they are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Starting with autonomy, which isn't about just going out and doing things on your own. In government in particular, work has to be, or at least it should be, collaborative. And it's through that collaboration that trust is built. And trust is the foundation for creating a culture where people can be autonomous in their work. And on that front, I am consistently impressed and inspired by the trusted relationships my dad has built among his peers and colleagues and employees and residents of the city. The way he listens to people and considers their ideas, how he invites them into the conversation, making them feel seen and heard. And in that, he created a container for both himself and the people around him to do their best work. Mastery. Throughout my life, I've watched my dad master things. Coaching Little League, as you've heard throughout the evening, betting on horses, adding numbers in his head in a way that still mystifies me, most recently giving retirement speeches, but most impressively, mastering an understanding of the landscape of the city of Cambridge, its people, its finances, and its potential. Brene Brown defines a leader as anyone who takes responsibility for finding the potential in people and processes and has the courage to develop that potential. Leadership is not about titles or office. It's about the willingness to step up, put yourself out there, and lean into courage. And based on that definition, I think I can speak for everyone here to say that my dad has mastered both the science and the art of leadership. Finally, purpose. I've heard my father say on multiple occasions the lesson he learned early on in his career was that the purpose of government is to help people. And if we zoom out and look at the broader political landscape of this country and countries around the world right now, that concept is missed. And when I think about my deep desires for and passionate championing of social and racial equity and justice, women's rights, environmental and animal rights, LGBTQIA+ rights, a community of which I am a part, I know now that the seed from which all of that grew is in the work that I've watched my father do for my entire life. In the ways that he has helped his colleagues, his teams, his community, and his family to live a better life. How he's helped create the conditions for me to live a better life. And Dad, in your retirement, my hope is that you direct some of that energy that you shared with everyone in this room for them to live a better life and to direct it toward yourself, so that you can enjoy and savor and celebrate this better life that you've created, that you've earned, and that you deserve. So Dad, without any further ado, we love you, we celebrate you, and it is our pleasure to honor you and to welcome you onto stage.
I just can't tell all of you and thank you all enough for being here before I even start my speech, because this is what it's all about. It's about all the friendships I've made here. How much I'm happy to be retired, but I can't tell you how much I miss all of you. Working with you day to day and making sure that people's lives in Cambridge are better. And everyone in this room, whether they work for the city, a nonprofit, faith community, make sure that people's lives are better in Cambridge. So before I even start my speech, can we just give everybody here a round of applause for what all of you do to make Cambridge successful. I will say this, Anthony, when we were talking about who was going to take the most time, no one picked Timmy, so Timmy, make sure I get to speak so much. You were the longest shot on the board to speak the longest, so good work. So, I know it's late, and Marielle had us convinced we could do this in 45 minutes, but Anthony took over the program, and that was the end of that. So, I will try to be as short as possible, but there is just so many things and people I need to just say thank you to. So, first of all, again, thank all of you for being here. I think as you know by now, I retired in July after 47 years of service with the city. The amazing employees and community partners I was fortunate to work with over the years made my work with the city rewarding and successful. While the city can do a lot, it cannot solve every problem or provide every service on its own. And that's why all of you is so important. The collaborations among the city, our residents, our faith and nonprofit communities, and our business and educational partners have helped positively shape this incredible and amazing city. As a lifelong Cambridge resident, there is no greater honor in my life than to be able to serve the city I love. Growing up in East Cambridge was very special. And I think the best way to explain why it's so special is I'm going to be 69 years old in December, and there's still so many people who I grew up with here tonight who grew up in East Cambridge, and I can't tell you what that means to me. So can we give out a shout out to all the people who of East Cambridge that are here tonight, because it was the best neighborhood to grow up in. My family was very important to me, and they ensured I had every opportunity possible, some which I had not even seen for myself. I spent my working career both at work and outside of work trying to ensure that people in this city have access to opportunities that I had. As most of you know, I started working with the city in 1975 in the Treasury Department, in the budget office, where I was fortunate to serve as budget director for 20 years, an office I'll truly always love and have a passion for, and is in great hands with Angela and Taha right now. Assistant City Manager for Finances, Finance Director, also in great hands with David. And finally, a City Manager for almost the last 6 years. But what David mentioned, and I want to confess tonight in reality, was after 2 weeks with the city, I had a game plan. And that game plan was to go home and tell my parents I was getting out of that place because it wasn't for me. Because as most of you know from East Cambridge, there was a place called Leachman Seals that I had worked from high school and college in, and I loved it there. So when I did my first 2 weeks at the city, I really knew nobody. I went from walking to Central Square, at the East Cambridge, to now going to Central Square. I went from knowing everybody in the store to knowing one person in a building. And I had more lunchtime at Leachman, going out with my friends, and at City Hall I sat at my desk every day, never went to lunch for 2 weeks. And I knew one person in the building. But that was all going to be okay, because I had a big city job right away to get this big check, so I can put up with it. But when I got my first check 2 weeks in, I realized Leachman Sales was paying me more than the City of Cambridge. So now it was an easy decision. Just go home and tell your parents you don't want the job. Now, I was more concerned about Al Vellucci, who obviously played a role in everything I did, than my parents. So we sit up for supper, and my mother was so excited because I got my first check. And I don't know if my sisters remember this, but my mother spoke 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. She always had something positive to say, something nice. But my father didn't speak. But when he spoke, you better listen. And he used the word F as just part of a regular vocabulary. Let's just leave it at that. So I was proud of myself, and I said, Mom, I'm really happy you're excited about me getting this check. But I made a decision, and I just want to talk to you two about it. I said, you know, I love Leachmere, and I'm making more money, and I think the time has come for me to, and I got the to. My father looked up and said, this effing conversation is over. And being a good young Italian kid, I said, okay, Dad, sorry it never crossed my mind, and never talked about it again. But about a week later, and he never had to explain it to me, because if he said it, it was over, trust me. He said, do you know Leachman Seals someday won't be there? And I said, Dad, Leachman Seals is going nowhere. You got to watch. I'm a 21-year-old kid. Where's Leachman going? He said, someday you'll retire from the City of Cambridge, and there'll be no Leachman, and that's what this is all about. And I said very politely, Dad, 21 years old. What it's about for me right now is having as much money I have to gamble with as possible, not what I have with a pension when I retire. But I think about it now as I reflect on my career, and today truly would not have happened if it wasn't for my father's advice, and it's something that I keep in the back of my head more than ever now. But I also want to recognize, as we think about my career, the city staff for their incredible efforts and dedication to this community. One of the reasons I felt I could do this job almost 6 years ago was because I had the opportunity to work with so many amazing people over 40 years. And certainly they proved me right. Because in Cambridge, and I say this often because it's the truth, people don't do their job because it's their job. Not part of the equation. They do their job because it's a passion. It's a love. It's a commitment to the residents of this city that is second to none. And, you know, one thing I didn't want to do was pull out departments, because I think every department's amazing, but I will just say to anybody in this room, if you really want to see the passion and the relationship employees have with the people we serve, go to a Baby U graduation by Human Services, or go to a Community Learning Center graduation at Human Services, and Ellen will be happy to give you those dates. And it's what government is all about. There's no better feeling to see the relationship that those people that we serve have with the people who serve them. So throughout my career, I've had that critical focus on city's financial, because I believe a strong financial position is a strength that allows us to do what we need to do. Our strong financial position allows us to continue to provide and expand high-quality services to our residents. If you don't have money, when the school needs something, you just can't do it. When the fire and police are facing issues and you gotta make sure they have the best equipment possible because they deserve it, you just can't do it. But we did that. But it's important that we remember, not so long ago, in the early 1980s, we were dealing with the Proposition 2.5 impacts and literally asking departments to take a 25% reduction. That's only early 80s, everybody. And as a city, we had a terrible bond rating, and was making it very difficult for us to really do the capital needs we needed to do to support our city. But fortunately, back then, we had a leader by the name of Bob Haley who made a decision. that we had to deliberately focus on the city's finances. That this critical focus remained throughout Haley's administration and continued with the Rossi administration and as well as mine, to making sure that finance was about people, not about money. And maintaining the city's current AAA rating from each of the major credit agencies for the past 23 years has reaffirmed our fiscal approach and put us in a strong position to continue supporting new and major initiatives. And I don't want to get into initiatives because I could speak for 20 hours. But one thing I do have to say it's allowed us to do, and David Ma, who's here today, was a major player in this, is no school is committed to the educational buildings like the city of Cambridge. Over $550 million when our third school is done. And again, there is nothing more important than the education of the kids of our city. And one of the real leaders of education is here, so I gotta give her a call out. Carolyn Turk and another leader, Kenny Saline, is here. They understand that they're helping the kids are all out. So, as much as I'm not getting into a lot of specifics, I think that's come up that I just have to briefly talk about. One of the things that really allowed us to do what we needed to do, be having a strong position, was during COVID-19. I can tell you the public health department, the police department, public works, law, finance, fire, human services, all quickly came together, really before any city, and said, how do we help our house community? Because that is something we have to address. And before I know it, I had a team of people that literally said, we can build and open a temporary emergency home, a shelter, and a quarantine facility at the War Memorial. And I think we did that in about 2.5 weeks, before the state was even talking about it. The program has since evolved into a new transition wellness house, Center for Unhoused Residents, which is located at the Spalding Rehabilitation Center. One thing I'm most proud of is we were able to provide 275,000 and counting free COVID tests to the people who live in Cambridge to help keep our community safe. And I want to thank Mayor Simmons, former Mayor Simmons, for her leadership in this, because it was also about where were those places going to be. We had to make sure that as we looked at numbers, the fact was that black and brown individuals were not getting the same percentage of vaccinations and things as white residents were. And with an incredible effort of our Cambridge Fire Department, and some of them are here today, no fire department anywhere put the time and effort to make sure that our residents were safe. But I will also tell you this, 7 days a week, often I went there at the end of the day. And yeah, a lot of firefighters know me, but a lot don't. And at the end of the day, after 8 hours, after serving 400 or 500 people, their response was welcoming, thanking us for coming. And that allowed people to come back and come back and come back again. So can we just give a round of applause? I know the fire department and police department for that. Amazing, amazing job. And then also, of course, Cambridge is about partnership. Where were we going to do these clinics? And the Cambridge Heights set up and said, whatever you need. St. Paul's AME Church, whatever you need, and Trinity Properties, whatever you need. And that really allowed us to have the ability to do it throughout the city. So even with COVID-19 and everything going on in the city, somehow we continue to provide more and more services right in the middle of COVID because we knew it was important. And I believe that no city had a stronger approach in protecting all its residents during COVID, or a better approach than the city of Cambridge. And I want to thank everyone who was involved with that. But I really want to just, and again, I hate shouting out names because so many people played a role, but during the middle of COVID, I probably had the greatest 1-2-3 punch any manager or mayor could have ever had. And I talked to one of them yesterday, and I went to lunch with one of them last week, and I talked to the other one today. I was incredibly fortunate to have partners every Monday night and 7 days a week, like former Commissioner Bart, who was a real leader in making sure, under an amazing police department, the best police department of any police department anywhere, that we did everything we could to make sure our residents were safe. Our Public Health Commissioner, Claude Jacobs, 8 in the morning, 10 at night, telling me what we're going to do. And then, really, the Wizard of Oz. Someone that I can't tell you how much respect I have for him. And he was my final go-to on what we could do, and I talked to him today about it, and I was hoping he could make it, but he couldn't. And that's aside Sayre, the director of the Cambridge Health Alliance, who really has been a leader in making sure that how we keep Cambridge safe. So can we give them another round of applause? And I also want to say how proud I am of now with Claude and Commissioner Vidcon, the leadership we have, Commissioner Elo and Derek Mule have done a great job taking their place. It really is a team effort. So I think as we've heard many times, the role of government is about helping families. And I will tell you, my first week in the job, I got a visit from someone who everyone has spoken about tonight. My mentor, my friend, Al Vellucci Sr. And he walked into my office and he said, "You're not going to be helping many people in your current role. But somewhere down the line, your role is going to change. And remember one thing, government is about helping people. If you can't do that, don't talk about anything else. It starts and ends right there." But he also said, it's about helping people who might never walk into City Hall, but letting them know they're welcome in City Hall. It's about helping the people who don't come here on Monday nights. It's about helping the people who don't trust government, and how do you make them trust government. And the way you do that is you reach out, because when one of their friends comes in and you treat them like family, and I'll never forget that, you treat them like family, they're going to tell other members of their family that City Hall is a great place to come. And I really have kept that in mind throughout my career, those words that Al sent me. And the Lucci family has been a dear relationship with mine, and I just got to give a shout out because it means so much to me that his grandson Peter is here with his wife today. His father was a dear friend, former state representative. The Vellucci and DePasquale, everyone thought we were related. That's how close we were, and it means a lot to have that family relationship. But one of the things I thought we do to help customer service is very proud of the fact that I created the first City Managers Advisory Committee. And I know some of those members are here today, so I just want to thank them and recognize them, because what that did, it allowed us to speak to the people who are going to be affected from all parts of the city on how they thought other residents would be affected. So instead of us thinking we knew all the answers, because we don't, let's reach out to the people who are going to be affected by our decisions and then see how to go about it. And I really think that was a thing that really helped us do what we needed to do. So the theory was very simple. If someone is coming to City Hall or reaching out to city departments, it's because they need help. And we must listen to them and try to get them the help they need. That's why providing excellent customer service has always been my top priority, and always will be. Again, I was very fortunate to be city manager and work with 3 excellent mayors who really were partners. My first mayor and dear friend, Councilor Simmons, 1 month on the job, we got hit with a 10-alarm fire in Wellington, Hamilton. And I don't think either one of us had a playbook for that. Maybe you did, Mayor Simmons, but I know I didn't. But I know one thing, we put a playbook in place. And we made those residents feel the best they possibly could. And I remember being down there the night of the fire, and Chief Reardon was there, and he said to me, "Do you want to go on TV?" And I said, no, you do that. But what I can tell you is that night, after standing there for about 8 hours, I learned what the fire department was all about. And I learned what local aid was all about. As cities were coming in all over to help us, and we never missed a beat. And it was amazing, and that's because of the leadership and the men and women of the firefighters everywhere. And that night, there was a lot of damage, but a 10-alarm fire is going to do that. But I know one thing, with the work we did, we minimized that damage, and we immediately put in plans on how to help those people. And Mayor Simmons, your office was phenomenal with that. We even got the opportunity to have Isaiah Thomas have a little holiday party for those people the following year. And it was just something that I'll always treasure, how the people were thanking us. People who have been in fires that lost everything are thanking us. No, we need to be thanking them for allowing us to do that. And then, of course, then I had Mark McGovern, who's been a dear friend. And you know, I'm going to mention Universal Design Park, but the city manager can't do a design park if we don't have partners. And when I went up to Mark and said, Mark, I got this idea, what do you think? I couldn't even finish the sentence. His question was, what do you need and how can we do it? And that's the kind of relationship we did. And of course, Mayor Siddiqui under COVID. No mayor should ever have to deal with COVID. No manager should ever have to deal with COVID. But like I said, I think our partnership is something we're all proud of. So I want to again thank all the councilors that I worked with for over 47 years. Our elected officials play a key role in the direction of how our city moves, and I've always tried to respect the relationship between the city council and the administration. I want to give a special thank you to the councilors who gave me this opportunity, who voted for me to become city manager, and for those who voted for my extension for a year and a half later. I cannot thank you enough for allowing me to be city manager in a city I love, and in my entire life truly cannot believe I had this opportunity. So again, I didn't want to do many shout-outs, but there are 4 councilors here who managed to vote for both of my contracts. Because by the time my second contract was up, most councilors decided they didn't want to be councilors anymore. So it put me in a little delicate spot. But I was very fortunate to still have a base of Councilor Calhoun, Councilor McGovern, Councilor Simmons, and Councilor Toomey, and I just want to thank all the 4 of you. Finally, you don't do this job for recognition or have things named at you. I mean, I have to be honest. We're paid well to do our job, and we love doing it, but the honor of having that universal design park named in my honor is something that me and my family will never forget. And I want to thank the previous city councilor for making that happen, but I also want to thank the city for recognizing that we always talk about how we need to have diversity. Well, diversity in park is important too. Because to go to a playground and see children not being able to use the equipment there because of some limitations is something that the city of Cambridge cannot accept. And that universal to park is for everybody. It is the best universal to park anywhere. Paul Ryden knows that because we went and looked at all the ones, and my last word to Paul was, let's do a much better job than that Menino Park, will you please? And he did that, so I just want to thank Paul and everybody. I promise I'm winding down, but I have to start off by just saying I can't thank Bob Hill and Rich Rossi enough for their support and guidance ever since my first day with the city. But most people don't know my first assignment with the city was to see if the city should create a water and sewer rate. And I left the finance office that day, director's office, and I went home and said, I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm going to write a paper on it? But I remembered one thing. And my coach and friend, Rich Rossi, worked at the water department, and if this says water in it, he's got to be able to know something about it tomorrow I call. So I immediately called Rich, and he said to me, well, you're going to have an interesting discussion with our department head here right now, but I think I've come with you, I think we can get this going. And we had that discussion, and it was quite a discussion. But it did allow us to really come up with the first water sewer rate in the city of Cambridge. And that was so important back then, and I think about it now, because the council wanted to get Harvard and MIT to pay more. Well, I think with Harvard and MIT in this city is one of the main reasons why we are what we are. They are our top taxpayers, they are our top employees. And let me say something else about Sarah and Tim, because I know they're both here, Tom. They are partners that when you ask, what do you need? They say, do you need anything more? So to our universities and to Tom and Sarah, thank you for everything you've done. Rich, that day you started, as you have my whole career, had my back, and I can't thank you enough for your leadership and guidance and allowing me to be where I am today. Your friendship for over 50 years is something that I truly, truly appreciate. And I want to make sure you understand that. And to Bob couldn't be here tonight, but I talked to him. He gave me the opportunity to be budget director and city manager, and the confidence he showed in me back then, when not everyone thought I could do either of those jobs, to be very honest, is something I will never forget, and I am so proud of where we are as a city right now. Again, I want to recognize the workforce. Our employees, many of whom are here tonight, are the greatest asset of the city. From our laborers to our administration, each employee provides excellent service to the community, and their passionate dedication to public service is second to none. I can tell you firsthand that the past 2.5 years clearly demonstrated that every employee plays an essential role. I think before that, we might have thought of essential roles as police and fire, and I understand why. But COVID made us realize that every department, every employee played an essential role. And I am ever so grateful to those employees who I've had the privilege to work and bring us to where we are today. So can we just recognize the Cambridge City employees that are here today? I promise I'm going to wrap up quickly. I do have to just give a shout out to my immediate office. I mean, they have been partners that have just been incredible. Dan and Edie, public information, you know, one of the things you have to do during COVID is make sure people know what's going on, and we were able to do that, and I think our information was second to none. Matt took a new job, and the next thing you know, he was dealing with every restaurant that was on the verge of being shut down, and became a real sponsor on how we could help our residents, and worked with David Meyer in the chamber to make sure that we did everything we could to keep our restaurants going. Francesca, who's been the person who greets people, because if you're going to make people feel warm and welcome, you have to greet them correctly. To Mary Ellen, who really is the heart and soul of the manager's office forever. She gets it done. There is nobody who has a better history in the city of Cambridge. I don't know what I would have done almost the last 6 years without her. She has been a true partner and a leader in terms of making sure that the city is doing the right thing. To Lee, throw Lee's job description in the barrel. First of all, Lee had to learn to talk Louis because he wrote all my speeches. And I didn't write this one, I could take the best of Lee and try to combine it. But more than that, Lee was, during COVID, someone every day of the week who I spent time with trying to figure out what were our next steps. And it was just so important to be able to do that. To Betsy and Lisa, their commitment to equity and inclusion is second to none, and I can't thank them for their efforts. And then, of course, to Stacy. I was so fortunate to work with Stacy in the finance department. And I gotta give a shout out as I continue to talk about Stacy, because before Stacy, there was someone who worked with me in budget and finance, and I need people to help me, I admit it, and I could not have had two better people have my back. And one of those people is still here tonight, and I know Crispina is somewhere, who was Stacy before Stacy. So Crispina, thank you for everything. Stacy, we left finance together, and we did a great job, I think, as a team. One thing about Stacy, she knows Louis, and often she could make decisions that I didn't have to be involved in because there was another 20 things on my desk. And I think we had a great partnership because we had one thing in mind, as we've talked about. How do you help people? How do you help people who need it the most? And I'm really proud of the work we accomplished, and I can't thank her enough for really being a part with me in this journey. So I just want to give Stacy a shout out. I was going to recognize all the speakers, but not only they had 22 speakers get up. I would just say it's been a privilege to know and work with all of you. Cambridge is so fortunate. We have the best elected officials anywhere in terms of making and understanding the fact that our people need help. And it's been a pleasure to work with them. I do give one shout out to Bishop Green, because when you talk about helping people who need it the most, being there when they need them, there was always one person that I knew I could call and say, how do we get to this? How do we get there? And what should we do? And that's Bishop Green. So Bishop Green, thank you. I think there's no prouder thing than your children if you're a parent who understand that. And, you know, the Chronicle did an interview me before I left, and the Chronicle writer said you're a crier, and I can't believe I haven't cried yet. But to my two children, Louis and Kristen, for tonight in your speeches, they are everything to me. They mean the world, and I cannot ask for two better kids. And I just want to again recognize them and thank them. I also want to recognize my son's partner, who has really brought out the best of him, Tyler. Thank you for being part of this group. My two sisters and their husbands right there, Mary, Vinny, Linda, Matt, John, please, thank you. My cousin Dot, whose husband Bill was my godfather. I wish he could be here. He was special. And my daughter mentioned some other special people who we wish could be here. A special shout out to Leo, who just stepped up with more than I can ever imagine. Leo, where are you? Thank you for helping this happen. Leo, I know you're somewhere. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you. And my last shout out for working tonight is, we mentioned it earlier, but events happen in the city all the time. We have a Danny Heat Park Night, and we bring 50 workers together, all volunteers, and we help out so many people. We have a dance festival in the lawn of City Hall that brings thousands and thousands of people, but we just make it look good. But this one person who does that is the lead. And that's not a job that many people can do or would want. And when this was coming about, she jumped in and said, I will be the lead. And this wouldn't happen today without her. And she's been the lead in so many important things in the city. And that's Mary Ellen. So can we give her recently retired Mary Ellen. And even though Mary Ellen takes charge, when you with Anthony, Timmy, and David Martin, it's not easy, but we were able to do it. And last but not least, I have to say that this journey would not have been possible without my wife. I think we should look at what my kids have accomplished. She did a lot of that. This job makes you leave a lot of time when you can't be at city events, when you can't do things with your children you want to do. I know especially the public safety people know that. And Cheryl was the rock that kept everything going. So it's been a partnership for 43 years. We owe Councilor Toomey for having that partnership. And I've thanked him many times for it. But really, again, great run. And again, I just want to give a shout out. This is an amazing turnout. I can't thank everybody enough on Friday night to somehow come here. And one other thing, and I don't want to get into the specifics, but there may be some proceeds left, and we are going to take those proceeds because some people couldn't make it, and do it to something that I know is important to me and Anthony Bluccio. It'll be for scholarships for Cambridge kids who play in sports when they go to college. So I want to thank you for being part of this. Good night, everybody. I know we ran over. I apologize for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.